Hey everyone, how's it going? Azren here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and today I'd like to walk you through the two ways that I know of to maximize your odds of actually reaching fluency. Let me share my screen and we can dive right in. So, if you're new to my work, hello, my name is Azren. I'm very passionate about learning languages. I speak English, French, Spanish, Mandarin, Gujarati, and I've dabbled in many others. I run a business called the Calgary Language Nerds. I founded it in 2016. My tutors teach one-on-one lessons that lead to fluency, typically within 1 year. I love what I do. It brings me a tremendous amount of joy to help people reach fluency and provide tutors with meaningful employment. Now, in my experience of learning languages and teaching languages, most people never actually reach fluency. And I think primarily it's because there aren't any comprehensive solutions out there. Obviously, we have apps and books and podcasts and YouTube videos and traditional lessons, and all of them are very helpful. The issue is that they're only partial solutions. They move you forward a little bit, but they don't take you all the way to fluency. And as a result, I think most people don't actually reach fluency. That's one of the core issues. Now, if you do want to reach fluency, you're like, well, I want to. I think that there are only two reliable pathways to actually becoming fluent. One of them is a program I've created called the Guaranteed Fluency Program. The other option is any form of intensive studies. And I'll walk you through both of these today. There are some free gifts here. If you're interested, just email me. I have a resource bank, which is a starter kit of self-study resources. I have it for French, Spanish, Mandarin, Russian, and Italian. I have a level up tracker, which you can use to monitor your progress toward fluency. There's some fluency roadmaps, which are instructions to teach yourself a language, like really step by step. And then there's a fluency self-assessment, which you can use to assess different language skills at home. So that aside, let's explore these two different pathways to fluency. And again, my experience has shown me that I think these really are the only, at least the only two ways that I've seen that really have high odds of leading to fluency in another language. So option one is called the Guaranteed Fluency Program. This is something I've developed. It's the less intensive of the two options. You need about 30 to 60 minutes of study per day, and there's some flexibility with that. I have made another video, which I'll link in the description below, and I go through this program in much more detail. So today we'll just do a really fast, high-level overview. So the Guaranteed Fluency Program, you learn all major language skills. So it's a very holistic approach to fluency. Not all resources are designed to be holistic. Some resources focus more on conversation, some more on grammar, some more on reading, et cetera, et cetera. For me, I've put something together that is much more holistic and does look at all language skills. If you do prefer to focus on something more specific, you want to do more conversation, less reading, more grammar, less listening. If you want to customize that program, we're more than happy to accommodate you. Personalized measurable goals and accountability. So we operate with the Guaranteed Fluency Program, we operate based on, well, personalized measurable goals. We try and keep you accountable to them. So you always know like how many hours you studied, how much time you have, roughly speaking, before you're fluent, what you studied so far, where are you now? We track your progress in a very accurate way. We'll try and keep you accountable. We'll try and keep you accountable to it. We've also put together a motivational framework. So we actually think that, at least my perspective, is that most language learning courses and resources, they don't do a good enough job of trying to keep people motivated. And so I actually developed a motivational framework that we use to try and keep your motivation levels high. We have clear fluency metrics in the Guaranteed Fluency Program. So fluency isn't just some empty promise. It's actually based on objective, measurable criteria. So we look at your pronunciation, give you a score. We look at your speech rate, and we calculate that. Vocabulary size, how many words do you know? How accurate do you speak? And we're always doing lots of assessments, so we really know exactly where you're at. And we really know what you've figured out, what you've mastered, and we can really see what your next steps are to move forward. Expert one-on-one instructions. We have a personalized balance of private lessons and self-study. So my tutors are not only experienced tutors, but also fellow language learners. In fact, some of us are even polyglots. So we've learned languages before. It's kind of like seeing a personal trainer. You'd expect your personal trainer to be in good shape, strong, etc. Well, we're strong, quote unquote. We're in shape, quote unquote, with languages. We all have learned other languages before to a high level. So we have that skill set. both as a teacher, but also for ourselves as learners. Flexible schedule, so mornings, afternoons, evenings. Generally, I've got some flexibility, especially because I've got tutors in different time zones. So that provides you with some more flexibility. And then fluency is guaranteed. So we do offer free lessons if you don't level up within 1 year. So beginner to intermediate, intermediate to advanced, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't level up. So if you do need more time, we can give you some more free lessons to help you close the gap. Again, I have another video where I go through all of this in much more detail. I show you a lot of the tools we use. I really do much more of a deep dive. So today, just more surface level on this program. If you do want to see the deep dive, I'll put the link in the video description box. Now, the second option to reach fluency is intensive studies. Now, intensive studies, as the name implies, is much more intensive. You're usually looking at 2+ hours of study per day. And really the upper ends are quite high. You could do 4 hours of study a day, 6 hours of study a day, 8 hours of study per day. I've done that actually myself. I have done it multiple times in my life. One example, probably one of the most, was it the most recent? Well, one recent example anyway, maybe not the most recent, but one recent example was where I literally had classes 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, while I was in another country that spoke the language I was learning. So that's highly, highly, highly intensive, of course. Now, for intensive studies, you have 3 different approaches. You have intensive lessons, we have a balanced approach, and then we have intensive self-study. Intensive lessons tends to have the fastest results. You want to take daily lessons, 2+ hours per lesson. So maybe it's like Monday, 9 to 11, Tuesday, 9 to 11, Wednesday, 9 to 11, et cetera, et cetera. Again, the upper echelons of this can get quite high. I've actually taught lessons where you do like 2, 9, 10-hour days. Like you can really make these very intensive. And honestly, frankly, the longer the classes are, the more intensive you make it. Honestly, the better the results tend to be. Now, for these intensive lessons, it's best if they're highly immersive and in person. That tends to be best. So what does that mean? It means that you're not locked in the classroom for 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day or 2 hours a day. You're not just sitting in the classroom. You're actually out living the language. You've actually taken a portion of your life and you live that portion of your life to the best of your ability in another language. So one example of this from my life was where I've signed up for intensive programs. They have a certain classroom portion, perhaps they do, but then they'll actually set you up with a language partner outside of class, and you actually go do activities with that person in the language that you're learning. Another example was, I never took it, but I heard of it once. It was a cool program I saw in Mexico, and I think it was called something like Walk and Talk. So they had lessons, but the lessons were all walking based. So you'd have your tutor, but you're always walking. You're never in the classroom, even for beginners. So it's a walking based program, right? So it's highly immersive. That tends to be best. For intensive lessons, some companies will just stick you in a classroom for 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, for multiple hours a day. They will just stick you in a classroom, and that does work too. It's just slightly less effective, I find. But again, still very, 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 very good. In fact, many governments, when they have their diplomats or government employees and such, I actually know someone right now who's doing a government course. They'll basically just stick you in a classroom, essentially. Maybe it's even online for like 8 hours a day. Sometimes it can even be online. The person I know is doing an intensive online course. So it's large group online intensive. So that also can happen. It's just not quite as engaging or as effective as a highly immersive in-person based program. Okay. So this is fastest results. Obviously the costs tend to be higher for these, but definitely has a fastest, most guaranteed results in the intensive studies category. We have a balanced approach, which also works very, very well. You take lessons 2 or more times per week. Generally, you look at 2 hours per lesson, generally speaking. There's some flexibility there. Online or in person, both will work for these lessons. The lessons will probably have more of a traditional approach to them, any kind of traditional teaching methods. And then you'll do about 2 hours of homework per day between lessons. So your schedule might be like Monday class for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. Monday, you have class for a couple of hours. Tuesday, a couple hours of homework. Wednesday, class for a couple of hours. Thursday, a couple hours of homework. Friday, maybe just homework. Or Friday, maybe you have class and then Saturday's homework, or whatever it is, right? But you're alternating between class, homework, class, homework. And again, you are taking this, you are using a more intensive approach. So every time you study, you are doing like 2 hours, you are doing like these 2 hour class or self-study sessions. Your last option is an intensive self-study, which also has very fast results if you're motivated. So taking lessons here is completely optional. Maybe you take lessons, maybe you don't. But you are going to study for 2+ hours every day by yourself at home. I'm kind of doing a variant of this right now in a way, except I'm not doing 2 hours. I'm doing like 45 minutes of entirely self-study at home right now. So I'm doing that. Now, if you are an inexperienced language learner, you probably should be hiring an experienced language coach to help guide your studies. What resources should you use? What self-study should you do? When should you do it? What happens when you're struggling with something and you don't know how to overcome it? The language coach can really provide some guidance with that. So ultimately, again, as a recap, you have two reliable pathways to fluency. One of them is intensive studies, and then you have 3 different approaches: intensive lessons, balanced approach, or intensive self-study. Or you have my guaranteed fluency program, which, if we go to the top, it's less intensive. It's about 30 to 60 minutes of study per day. It can be, and there's some flexibility. There's some level of flexibility there as well. But those are kind of your 2 big options to becoming fluent in another language. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. You can contact me by going to my website. There's a contact form, fill it out, emails me. My social media platforms are also there. More than happy to answer any questions you have. And yeah, best of luck on learning whatever language you're currently trying to learn. See you guys later. Bye-bye.